Forgot something. I will be right back. Oopsie. Okay. Hello. Kiana Sate here. I should hang up and start again, but oh well. This is the Being in Sync 366 video series. Sorry for that rude exit. If you are new here, I come on here every day for this Being in Sync 366 video series, sharing insights, thoughts, wisdom, information about energy psychology. That is where energy is aligned physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And yeah, that's energy psychology. The natural laws all are running in patterns. They are governed by something called the principles of the natural laws. And everything that I recommend in this series is aligned with the natural laws, aligned to you becoming more congruent and aligned within. So I'm just waiting 5 minutes before people join in. I've got my tea today. Hello, welcome. Today we're talking about areas of growth. I thought this would be a nice next step to take us into the new year. Hi, Jono. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully you had a nice Christmas. I still have a little bit of a cough, but you know, I'm here. You're here. We'll see what today's discussion evolves into. But I wanted to talk about growth because I think it's really important for us to understand some components about growth that most people don't realize. Yep, showing up to learn and grow. That's great. So I'm going to talk about 3 main aspects of growth that most people don't talk about because I think it's important. Okay. All right. Hey, Mike. Good to see you. I hope you had a good Christmas too. Mine was very mellow and nice and lovely. Just waiting the 5 minutes for everybody to join in. Growth develops in the mind. Well, you know, I think too many people are focused on mind stuff and not focused on the mind in the appropriate ways. If you're going to focus in the mind, the best place to get the best traction is to do ego work. You want to be able to identify when your ego's at play and then disidentify it, because your ego is the first thing that's going to take you away from alignment to within, alignment to God, alignment to your heart. So if you're going to, hey, Lei Chu, good to see you. So if you're going to do anything that has to do with mindset, you want to address the ego. If you do not have your ego in check, you will be misguided. What happens when people get in fights? They are in their ego. Can I explain the ego? I have purposefully avoided talking in detail about the ego on here, Mike, and I will tell you why. I only work with the ego work with my ongoing clients because the ego fights for status quo. It will also create a negative charge with anybody that challenges the status quo. So I personally do not want to go any deeper than I have unless you're a regular client, because you know, you want to establish a pure connection in the heart that allows you to begin to challenge how the mind is operating. But I just figured I'd throw it out there since somebody talked about mind and focusing on the mind. I think most people do not focus or disidentify with their ego, and therefore their ego is leading them away from their heart. Our heart is really where we can transform every relationship, every argument, every situation that we find ourselves in that is challenging, our heart can help us navigate that easier. However, then the ego usually comes into play and disrupts things to keep things as they are and to go into righteousness or right and wrong and judgments and all that fun stuff. And, I don't really want to go into more detail than I've already gone into because today's topic, y'all, is about growth. So first of all, I want you all to ask this question. Oh, I'm going to post a poll here. Hold on one second. Let me post this in the poll so I don't have to repeat it. Okay, hold on. It's going to go silent. Okay. All right. I got a question for you in the poll. What was your biggest area of growth for 2024? Do you know what that is? Okay. So if you don't, you want to. Okay, so here are the 3 things. Please excuse my cough. Here are the 3 things about growth that I think most people do not talk about. First of all is this. With every expansion, there is also a contraction, okay? So the contraction is also important to growth. It's kind of like the ebb and the flow of life, right? So we must understand that when we are growing and expanding, there's going to be a contraction. So a lot of my clients who come to me, they get really frustrated with being tired, and being tired is a thing. But here's the thing, when you are going up in levels of frequency, of higher levels of consciousness, that requires a different level of integration than most people are accustomed to. Most people usually rest when they're sick. But when you are growing in consciousness, it requires you to acclimate. So that means that you might sleep for 10 hours after a session, surprisingly. I have had clients that have come to me that hadn't slept a full night's sleep in their entire life that they could remember, had one session and slept for 17 hours. Now, that's not everybody, but that is some people. So when you are rising in consciousness, it requires an integration phase. And that integration phase often can feel like a contraction. And a contraction could be that you need more rest. It also could mean that you will suddenly have things kind of look like and appear like they're falling apart. The breakdown before the breakthrough, if you will. So many people think that growth is about expansion and nothing changes. When you are growing and expanding, everything can change. That's the beauty of it. So I'm going to get to the chat after I finish these 3 things. So I'm talking about contraction. So the first thing I want to say is that understand that when you're growing, there will be a contraction, a shifting of the energy that will happen in your relationships. You might feel polarized in some ways. You might notice that you have conflicts. So expansion doesn't mean that everything grows with you. It means that some things will fall away, and you must understand that. So that's number 1 about growth. Number 2 issue about growth that I think most people struggle with is they have a lack of supporting clarity in the direction that they're going. So let's just say you have a health goal. Let's just say your health goal, which is so common for too many people, which is they focus on losing weight, which I'm not a fan of that one, but people always have that. So I'm going to talk about that. I think it would be much better for people to focus on increasing vitality rather than focus on losing weight. But, who am I? I just help people align. So let's just say you have this goal about losing weight. What you want to do is have 5 reasons why. 5 compelling reasons why. And they should go one after another deeper. If you can't go deeper and you stay on the surface, you're going to have a very difficult time staying tethered to that goal. And then it will become a weapon. The goal will become a weapon of how you failed. So I highly recommend, let's just say, if you have a goal about your health and it's about losing weight, why is it important for you to lose weight? And then you answer that question. And let's just say, why is it important for me to lose weight? So I can have greater mobility. Okay, so that's your answer. So then you go, why is it important for me to have greater mobility? What do you get from having greater mobility? And then you say, I could enjoy my life more. Perfect. So write that down. So now you have 2 of the 5 whys. I want to enjoy my life more, okay? When you enjoy your life more, what does that bring you? Why is that important? Again, we want to get the 5 whys. Why is it important to enjoy your life more? What do you get out of that? What do you get out of that? Let's just say, when I enjoy my life more, I have more fun. Okay, that's an answer. Okay, that sounds like a really good answer. So you write that down, have more fun. So what do I get out of having more fun? More alignment? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So now we have number 4 is alignment. When you are aligned, what do you get? What do you get when you're more aligned? Yes, you feel better, but we already said that already. That's already one of the 5. What do you get when you feel better? More joy, we already said that. More love, more expansion, more growth. So you want to answer it. Your 5th one should be so deep. That is the driver of the goal. That is the driver of the intention, whatever it is that you focus on. But most people who want to grow are lacking the depth of clarity. So get clear. Know what the depth of clarity is. Okay? So know why you are doing something. And if you can't get deep on number 5, you can't get clear enough. Number 2 is to get clarity. Number 3 is the 5 whys. If you don't have the clarity, you've got to change the goal, because the momentum is not there. It will not last past January. So you want to have greater clarity around your growth. Now, one of the things that I do every month, you guys know me, some of you know me, you want to track, where am I growing? What do I need to grow at? So the answer to your question, what was my biggest area of growth for 2024? If you can't quickly answer that within a few moments, you have to do better for yourself. You have to do better. You should know the areas in which you've grown in the past year. And if you can't ascertain where you've grown, then you failed yourself. And that's why we have so many people who are depressed, anxious, and confused. So you must be able to hold yourself to another level of clarity, another level of discipline, for lack of a better word, because your lack of doing that is going to directly impact your alignment. Now, I don't know why this is coming to my mind, so I'm just going to share this. I have clients from my past who have attained great career success. But you know what? Their integrity is shit. Their integrity of who they are, they sold themselves out. Why did they do that? Money, prestige, title, I don't know. But they are not the good humans that I met, 10 years ago. So be a good human. You be a good human to yourself. You be a good human to others. You be kind. You be compassionate, and you will thrive. You will grow. These people who are growing in their careers, they're dying in their soul. Don't let that be you. You must know that you are worthy of discipline. And discipline doesn't mean you're going to the gym every day, okay, y'all? Discipline is that you are connected to your heart, that you have created a direct relationship with God, and that you are tethered to morals and ethics that go beyond what the job is asking you to do. Okay? So most people, I was just really disappointed to see how much my clients have really just, they reach these things that they think they're pinnacles, but what good is this career if your character is junk? I don't know. Okay, y'all. I'm going to go see what you guys are saying in the chat. I know we don't have them. Hi, Mike. Good to see you here. My glasses are always so dirty when I go on here. Hello, Princess. Good to see you. Lei Chu, are you still here? Do you have your biggest area of growth for 2024? Do you have that? Do you all have that answer? I hope so. I was talking about this yesterday with a friend of mine, and I just thought it was such a good question, I wrote it down. Okay, now I can see. Mike, I hope I helped ego, but there are, real quick, ego is, there's a lower ego and a higher ego. A lower ego is, woe is me, I'm not good enough, low self-worth, etc. Higher ego has the same issues, except it's usually expanded in inflated ego. But it's an aspect of the personality that gets exploited in general terms. Hey, Natalia. Hello, Abraham from South America. Can I explain nanotechnology? It's in, well, it depends what you're talking about. So there are many kinds of nanotechnologies. I highly recommend you all start researching this if you're not familiar. I would say I'm not an expert, but I am familiar. And I think I first was introduced to nanotechnology through my exploration in my hobbies about 30 years ago. That's before it became really popular now as a weapon. It's been used as a weapon, and it is a particle, and it's a particle that's programmable. And when it receives a signal, like energy does, we're all energetic beings, it can migrate with other particles and become like a computer type system. So a nanoparticle is not that great, but what's happening is those nanoparticles are coming together and creating systems of nanotechnology within bodies. It's happening within so many different areas, but it's been happening with our air, and it's been super formidable because it's been happening with some of the medical aspects that many people are now becoming attuned to. AR is saying the ego is mind motivated. Well, the ego is part of the mind. It's part of the identity that most people have made their identity, but it takes them away from their true identity. So that's the issue, AR. Thomas is saying, you remind me of Abraham Hicks. Oh, well, that's interesting. I have never heard that one. Rama is saying, are you teaching about Jesus? I talk about Christ consciousness, but I don't follow any dogmas of religion, Rama. Ray is saying, for me, meeting the CEO of my company was your biggest area of growth. Interesting, Ray. Say more. What did you get out of that for your growth? Hi, Shane. Good to see you here, friend. AR is saying, if ego and growth fight. Well, that would be an inner conflict, AR. Ray is saying fear and self-doubt is the issue. That's lower ego, Ray. So you want to find an issue like fear. You want to identify what your fears are. I think a lot of people use fear and anxiety. They become kind of like bumper stickers for people. And they actually keep you locked into a system of delusion because you haven't identified what the fear is. So to the best of your ability, you want to identify your fears, and then you want to have a system of disidentifying with your fears so you understand that you are not your fear. Your fear is a thought, and a thought form becomes a matter when you give it attention. Hi, Mary. Mary is asking, what's frequency? Frequency is a signal. We are energetic beings and we are signals. We are always giving and sending. We are always giving a signal and receiving signals constantly. So if you don't know what a frequency is, it's just a waveform. It's not anything super technical, but you should understand that you as a human being give off a frequency, a resonance. Ray is saying you got to understand the game to respect the game. That was your takeaway from meeting with your CEO? Wow. That's it? Interesting. I wonder why that was so profound for you. Hi, Mick. Good to see you. We missed you yesterday. Okay, quantum reality saying goals are simple to achieve. Just do something small every day towards that goal. In no time, it will make it accomplished. Well, I'm not really talking about achieving goals so much as I am talking about the clarity of whether the goal that you're actually think that you're setting or the direction that you're going, is that even a resonant direction? Is that even in alignment? You won't know if it's in alignment if it's not clear. And if you haven't been able to build a case, if you will, the whys, the 5 whys, as to why you should do it. Yeah, Ray is saying focus on money and be miserable. I think these people aren't focused on money so much as power and influence. That's been the big focus for this particular person that I'm thinking of. And I just am so taken by how shallow they've become. But, I was only their consultant for, 6 years, so. Areas of growth depends on what others think of you. Oh, interesting. Ray is saying anxiety and confusion is a result of society. Absolutely not. It's a lack of ownership. It's a lack of clear, concise consent. It's a lack of personal accountability. It's a lack of responsibility. It's not society's fault. It's a lack of knowing that they are worthy. Oh, sorry for your friend, DJ. Lots of people are going to be passing. Lots of people are going to be dying. These these days that we are in are not for the faint of heart. That's why you must create inner congruence. You want to be strong within. And when I say strong within, that doesn't mean you can't cry or you don't have emotions. This means that you have non-attachment, that you're able to witness and be a presence for others who are struggling, because people are struggling. Oh, good, Lei Chu, you're still here. Did you have your biggest area of growth for 2024? Patience, you say. Wow, good for you. I think I would say these YouTube videos has been one area of growth for me, not just because of being in the public and putting out my personal stuff, but I used to not talk about my personal ways at all. So this has been a fun way for me to do it. But there are other areas of growth for sure. Family's been one, family's been a huge one. Oh, Lei Chu, you're saying I need more patience to deal with stuff. Interesting. When we're in our hearts and present, we don't need patience. Patience is that an attachment to an outcome, an attachment to people doing things a particular way, and really we want to honor ourselves with exactly where we're at. That's what I think. Culture, hello. I think the biggest areas were between job and the small family. Interesting, culture. I think it's so interesting. I just want to take a peek at the poll and see. 60% of you know, oops, I'm just going to end the poll. 60% of you know what your biggest area of growth was. So then I'm going to ask you this. Where is your biggest weakness? Where did you not grow the most? Do you know the opposite? You want to have that clarity. And if you don't have the answers, you want to know the answers. Because your area of growth is going to show you how attuned you are to your present, to your own life. Just looking to see, Ray is saying, unfortunately, 99% of us have to survive in this world. Yeah, that's a choice, Ray. You're choosing to survive. I would choose to thrive. And those are two different ways of being. So you get to choose the way of being. And I would choose to thrive over survive. When you have a survival mindset, and definitely there are situations that require that, but it's not an everyday state. And so too many people go into survival mode and they end up getting burnt out physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because that's not a state of thriving. It's not intended to be a state that you stay in for long periods of time. But there's a lot of people that stay in that state of survival mode, and they end up getting very depleted, and usually they will be compromised spiritually, and that will compromise their spiritual immune. If you don't have a strong spiritual immune system, you will have a weak physical immune system. They are totally tied. You cannot separate physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. People try to do it all the time, but they are linked. In 2024, Jono is saying, I learned not to be afraid of letting go of people I love most. It's so difficult to overcome traumas of the past lovingly, openly, and honestly. Congratulations, Jono. I think the most difficult thing to let go of from the past is the mind being hooked into these ideas of how healing trauma has to be. I know I don't heal traumas the way most people do. And I don't think it needs to be done by talk therapy, personally. We need to integrate our lessons and our learning, which in 2025, I'm going to do a small group of people for a fairly nominal fee of doing these soul lessons. I'm excited about that, for just a small group. Well, good to see you here, Mick, today. Ray says, avoid the topic of death. Ray, I did a whole series, a whole video on death and dying. You can find it in the Being in Sync 366 video series. Today we're talking about growth. Ray is saying, donate your time to help others is better than focusing on yourself. I think being in service is very important. That's one reason why I come on every day for, this year. And I did donate in person, but I think being in service to others is quite underrated. People don't realize how important being in service to humanity is. I agree with you, Ray. Mick is saying it's been a really hard few years. In fact, my whole life has been a fight and a struggle, but the last year has been tough as well, but something clicked in me spiritually. Oh, Mick, I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, I think globally, people have been challenged in ways they never imagined. So that the struggle is real for a lot of people. For me, when the lockdowns and all that stuff started happening, and people were getting to see what it is to work out of the house and that kind of thing, I kind of felt like, people understand my life now a little bit more. But what I learned from that is that a lot of people really don't like their lives. So I was surprised at how many people were rudely awakened with how connected they are with their life and their wife and their family, and they don't really like each other. They all really don't get along when they spend quality time together. So it's very interesting. I think a lot of people were challenged to learn about spirit, Mick, and that journey has been somewhat difficult for a lot of people because they associate spirit with church, and they're not the same. They're different. And spirituality has nothing to do with the dogmas of religion. Energy, Christ consciousness, unity consciousness, Christ consciousness, God consciousness, those are all frequencies and vibrations. They're not a Bible verse. No offense for those of you who believe in that. I don't know. I don't know what Boxing Day is. I don't know anything about that language. Hi, Matthew. Good to see you. Hi, New Zealand. One of my favorite countries I've ever visited. I love New Zealand. So beautiful. Okay, we have somebody getting married. I don't want to say your name wrong. Anja George is getting married in January. Oh, you're from Kurla. I've heard there's actually a brand of herbs named that. My advice is, the best advice that I received about being married is to be kind. And of all the advice I've heard, be kind, and every day you recommit from your heart. Those were two pieces of advice that I think are worthy of sharing. Be kind. Because there's going to be times where you guys just don't get along and you don't agree. And to the best of your ability, be kind. Mick says, this year I need to figure out how to make a living and give back, and make a difference. It's just built in me to find a true balance in myself. Well, I hope that you do something that's in alignment with your heart, Mick. And do those 5 whys, Mick. I think that'll help you. Hello, Australia. I did an exchange program in Australia when I was in college. Love it. Hey, Marjorie, good to see you. Hello, hello. Oh, Marjorie is saying, I learned about courage, love, and trust. I love it. I do have the clarity to know to the degree the growth has affected me. Thank you for the question. I do not have the clarity. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, courage is, for those of you who still think courage is something that you got to get a mindset about, courage is really a muscle of the heart. Courage is a muscle of the heart. And love and trust, those are great things to learn about. I think a lot of times we learn through contraction, you know, those things where we speak our truth and then people don't receive it, and then we feel the backlash, and then we have to adjust and learn. And I think that's always a good way to learn. Which the question yesterday that we answered, which is what was your biggest question? Wait, what was the question? What is your biggest learning about friendships from the last year? My husband and I had really profound learnings about friendships this last year. And that was another one. We both had very different learning lessons, but very profound awarenesses about friendships. Jono's saying, I want to try to set the record straight to keep my integrity. Part of me loves so much I could accept a lie, but I think the part that was some about abandonment trauma. Okay, well, you got to be the integrity that you want to experience with others. So then you want to look at, where am I out of integrity with myself? Growth needs a lot of mental energy. You know, Francisco, when I do the soul lessons with people, one of the things that they struggle they struggle with, and I'm laughing because I look at it differently, but one of the things that people struggle with their soul lessons and their life lessons is that when you are expanding in consciousness, it causes your mind to stretch in ways that are unfamiliar. You're basically going so deep that you're bringing the unconscious to the conscious level, and then we integrate it. That requires a different type of attention. It's not impossible. It just requires a different type of intention. Okay, Richard's asking, would you propose to solve the issue of partisan corporate media? I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you're asking me here. What are you asking me? I think people are getting confused about facts because data, Richard, data is simply data. The numbers are the numbers. It's the interpretation that people are struggling with. And your interpretation is always going to be based on, this is my drum roll, your belief system. And if you haven't challenged your belief system and you don't know what you believe, most people have a distorted belief system that is based on lies. So, Richard, corporate media spewing biased opinions, it's been happening for eons. And it's not just corporate media, it's governments, it's education, it's all these institutions that people are so invested in, including churches. And they've been lied to. We've been lied to. Jono says, I love helping people access service is a way I like to express and care. Good for you. Mick says, congratulations, best of luck in your marriage. Ray says, the advice he got was to focus on the woman's body and mind. Well, that was the best advice you got? I mean, I remember when I first got married, I'd go around asking people what was their best advice. And it turns out a lot of people don't have really good advice. So if you don't respect the person who you're asking for their advice, I would not ask for the advice, because a lot of people have really bad advice. A lot of people will stay in marriages because they don't want to be alone. That's not a good reason to stay married, in my opinion. Your quantum reality says, put your effort into today and tomorrow, not yesterday. Hey, the moment. We all have this moment. And this moment is different from the last moment. And so be present in the moment. Culture says, thinking more about the future, is that negativity or positivity sense? Well, I think it's actually, as I'm reading your question, I'm really thinking that's a polarity, right? Like, where do I put my focus? And I would say what your quantum reality said, you just need to focus in this moment. Everything is created from this moment. So what are you creating? Who are you becoming? And I wish if my executive were to come back to me as a client, which I highly doubt, but if this executive were to come back to me, I would focus on who are they becoming, because they have really, from an outsider's perspective, right? Because I'm not talking with them on a regular basis. I'm only seeing from a distance. They're so far gone from who they used to be and from their heart. I think that's the key. Forget about the deeds that they're doing, but they're just so disconnected from their heart, and they're so invested in this stupid thing called a position, this thing called a role, where they think they're influencing and helping others when they're really not. If they're not connected to their heart, they've missed the whole point. And so what's the point in doing the job if you're going to have your heart checked out? What's the point? Anyway. Mick says, I took a note about friendships over the Christmas. Some people, I don't know what you're saying here, Mick. Where'd it go? It just moved. Shoot. It moved. Mick, I can't find your question. What happened? Oh, here it is. I missed it. Somehow the chat moved. Mick? And I can't find where you wrote. Maybe it's redacted now? It looks like it redacted. Yeah, Marjorie, the moment is now. That's where all creation is. The unmanifest occurs in the now moment. Yes. Thank you, Paban. Hello, Italy. Okay, you all, so this was all about growth. And what is your biggest area of growth for 2024? That was the poll question. But that's leading into, what are you going to make the focus for 2025? And you want to really know, like, you want to do a reflection. And I do this every year. I have a series of questions that I ask, and then I review them. This was not on my questions for my review, but I thought it was a good question to pose for today. But you want to make sure that you are focused on things that are really important. And Jono is saying he might make a channel. He wants a sense of adventure. And I would say, do not invest too much into these channels, these Instagrams, these YouTubes, these people. I just think that I do this as for growth, in not just people, but just getting out there. But I would say it's not my primary focus. It has been a stretch goal to do this 366 video series, but I would not recommend doing this YouTube stuff to anybody. It's so skewed. And I'm not being negative about it. I just want to be real. It's just gives you a very skewed perspective. And you really want to know who you are. So since you're healing, Jono, this is my own advice. I don't know you. Take what resonates, leave the rest behind. But if you have traumas and you're trying to heal, social media is not the place to do that. Social media is not the place to heal. You want to do your inner work and then maybe come back in a year when you're really strong and really know who you are. And then maybe. Otherwise, a lot of people get really damaged in their spirit from being on social media. So you want to have a strong spirit. That is the focus. The focus is to create inner congruence. It's not about being public and people admiring you and liking you. That's all nice and good, but that doesn't mean anything. What means something is that you have created an inner congruence within yourself. That needs to be the focus, not social media, Jono. I would say that what a waste of time, in my personal opinion. Not that you might not learn. Sanil is saying, I've learned a lot from love that people should focus on their career instead of falling in love and paying attention to promises. Well, it sounds like your lesson was really about trust. You're saying it's about love, but it's really about trust. And what I will say about trust is that we must, when we have inner congruence, we don't try and trust other people's words. We could see the writing on the wall. Every betrayal I've ever experienced, there was an inkling, a knowing that I didn't trust within. So that's not their fault, that's mine. Pug says, I want to quit a job that I don't like, but I don't know where to start. Well, quitting is never the answer. And I have found, and I have a program on here you might find helpful. It's called Careers in the New Paradigm. Go check that out, Pugged. If you're looking for getting in alignment with your career, that's a great resource for you. And the best place to start is within, because anybody could go find another job, but you want to find alignment. You want to find a way in which you can fully express yourself. It's a good thing to know that you don't like your job, but why don't you like your job? What's the polarity within your job that's causing you to feel that disdain? Because you're the one that's carrying that, so you don't want to do that. Jono's saying, I really want to do it to make bags of money and freedom, but I've just seen how hard it could be. Jono, again, my advice stands. I think your comment here about your direction of bags of money and freedom are misguided, and I would do your inner work is what I would say. Honestly, go read Keeping the Love You Find. Go read the book Doing the Work by Byron Katie. Go read Gabor Mate, and really do some hard-hitting healing on yourself, because money is not going to bring you freedom or happiness. It's all a facade. Freedom comes when you follow your heart. Mick is saying, oh, here's your comment, Mick. I'm finally getting to it. I'm sorry. So I took notice of friendships this year, and I talked a lot and knew I was going through stuff, and some did I don't know what you're saying, a border call over Christmas, and they won't be coming with me this year. Yeah, Mick, I used to do this little exercise with my friends, and we used to pretend if we had our own exclusive jet, and we could fly anybody on that jet. We can only bring 6 people on our jet. Which 6 people would we fly on our private jet to anywhere in the world and go on a great vacation? And it's really interesting to see who you would allow on your jet and why. And when you start to answer those questions, you could, the number is whatever. You can have 10 people on your jet. But the idea is that you use discernment on who you would like to spend your free time with, who you would give gifts to come on a luxurious jet. Would you bring everybody? No. Why not? Who would you bring and why? That's a good way to look at it, Mick. You might have fun with that one. Love you, lady. You're so beautiful. Well, thank you. Jesus bless me. I am blessed. Thank you. Just a reflection of you. Just a reflection. Affleck is saying, what is your suggestion? We should stop thinking about relationships? Oh, no. We should use relationships to learn about ourselves. Hi, Pisces. Good to see you. I feel that icky, I don't know what you're saying there, Pisces, with everyone. Affleck says, pay attention to her words. I don't know what I said. Okay, Jonah says, Gabor Mate, doing the work. I'll actually Hey, doing the work, you could just, by Byron Katie, go on her website. She has a free worksheet. Use the worksheet. Do the worksheet every single day. The person who asked me about ego work, that will help you. That will help you. Hello, Clint. Yeah, Mick, isn't it fun? Inkling. Oh, thank you, Pisces. E-girl, I'm not looking for donations. I don't know what you're doing here. Anyways, y'all, today was to talk a little bit about growth and understanding that with growth comes contraction. And when there's contraction, we need to listen, we need to pay attention. It was also about gaining more clarity. And then I gave you the 3 whys on how you can gain more, the 5 whys actually, how you can gain more clarity. Clarity is so important. Most people are lacking clarity. They're lacking meaning. They're lacking depth. And when you do the 5 whys, you will get meaning, you will get depth, and you will get clarity. And you will see whether what you're trying to focus on is going to make it down the road. Otherwise, you'll just get distracted and your health won't get the focus. And I don't say focus on health. I say focus more specifically on things that will help build vitality and health. People focus so generally on themselves. So anyways, y'all, thank you for being here. Do you have any questions or thoughts that you want to say about growth that I missed that you think that's really important to talk about? Did I share with my I told you the YouTube was probably the most, sounds weird, but probably the most material aspect of growth that I have these video series where I really stretched myself to dig deep and to put myself out there and to be authentic and in alignment with the natural laws. And it's been a practice to do that. I've been in a relationship with a girl who already had 2 boyfriends, but despite the facts, I loved her and she left me for betterment. That's why I commented early about the relationship. Yeah, it sounds like trust. I'm from the one area that could occupy culture. What are you saying here? I'm from the one area that occupied my growth of all of our thinking. I don't understand culture, what you're saying there. Mick is saying, yeah, just stay true to yourself. People who are who you are. Oh, sorry, Mick, I'm sorry. Let me re-say this. Stay true to yourself, everybody, and who you are, and God bless. Stay true to your heart. I'm going to reframe that. And know who you are, and you will be blessed. Because you can't be separate from the blessing. All right, y'all. Yes, I have been to India. All right, y'all, I'm done for today. Thank you so much for your time. I will be back tomorrow for another video for Being in Sync 366 video series. I hope you have a great night. I appreciate you. I appreciate your participation and being here. If you're new here, put the notifications on so you get notified, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Namaste.